So we're going to talk about getting to the end of the row and what do you do when you get to the end of the row. So you continue to knit your stitches close to the end, between, through, off, stitch in, between, through, off. And here's your last stitch. And what you're doing is that you're just doing the same kind of stitch. Gets a bit tricky because there's not a lot to hang on here. But you're doing the same stitch between, pull that right tip through, and then off. So now all your knitted stitches are on this side. We want to flip it to the other side, so you just turn it like so. So all of your stitches are on your left hand side and your empty needle is on the right hand side. And once again, you are working from right to left as you go. So you're ready to go with your first row and you start again. Once again, the first row, the first stitch and last stitch are always a bit tricky because there's not much to hold on to with this hand. Between the needles, pull through, slip it off. Needle in, between the needles, pull through and off. And that is the knit stitch starting the other side. Now you'll see me tugging a bit on here. It was getting a bit too loose. And once again, what we're trying to aim for is that it slides nice and loosely on the needles. Knitting needles are all different sizes, but you're always wanting the tension to be the same no matter what yarn you're using, what needles you're using. You want it to be able to slide really nicely because that is going to help you with your tension. So I also wanted to talk about the anatomy of what netting stitches look like. I'm going to use this. So here we go. Here's a couple of knitting examples. This is actually a really good example. When you knit both sides of a row, when you're making a flat piece like this one, you will end up with bumps on both sides. This is called a garter stitch when there's bumps on both sides. It's a denser, warmer cloth that you're making or fabric that you're making here, and it takes longer because it is more dense. For a lot of pullovers, you will see that there will be smooth on one side and all the bumps on the other side. And this is how most commercial sweaters are made. You'll take a look in your closet and you'll see that that's the inside out. You'll get the bumps. The front side, it'll be very smooth. This stitch is called stockinette, and you can get it two ways. One way to get stockinette is by knitting in the round. And this is a kit from our beginner's knitting. This will be a cowl. So put that there. So what you will notice is that it is all flat on one side and it is bumpy on the other side. By going in the round, you are never having to flip over your knitting from one side to the other side. You're always going the same way, so you're only doing a knit stitch. So this is a really easy way to get a one flat surface because you're not having to go back and purling. And we'll definitely do purling in a later video. A lot of people have questions about this thing. It's called an O marker, stitch marker, and you will find it close to where your tail is. So that means that it is the beginning and end of your row. And in a lot of patterns, the initials are BOR, or beginning of row, or end, or yeah, beginning of row. And a lot of people say, well, how do I make sure I don't knit that into the fabric? Well, what happens is that when you go around and you get there, you will find that the marker is just hanging off a needle. And when you get to that point, all you need to do is transfer it to the other needle and keep on knitting. And then that will hold your marker there. A lot of times you'll be able to know where your beginning of row is just by following your tail. But by using an O marker, you're moving it up the fabric as you're knitting it. And so you're not having to trace a trail up your knitting. So the other way of creating the stockinette stitch is by knitting one side and purling the other side. And if we even pull apart this knitting here, you'll see that there's a smooth stitch in between. So every time you knit a stitch, there's going to be bumps on one side, the purls, and knits on the other side, a garter stitch. And by manipulating these two stitches, you can end up with a flat side and a bumpy side on the inside. So just by knowing two stitches, you will do most of your knitting patterns will need that.